welcome to the Fools Media Podcast, the one-episode show where I get to talk about Fahrenheit 451, Hamilton, Dear Evan Hansen, and Shawn Mendes and Camilla Cabello all in a couple minutes. You might have heard and or read Fahrenheit 451 in high school, but just in case you need a refresher, it's a dystopian novel set in dystopian U.S. where the highest form of knowledge, literature, and books is considered contraband, and firemen, including the main character Guy Montag, are sent to burn them. It's like every other dystopian novel, where the main character goes into forbidden territory and questions his entire life, but that's besides the point. Rather, we're here to look at the society of Fahrenheit 451 and just how confusing their view of entertainment really is.
Hello, my name is Lily Moayeri. I'm the teacher librarian at Abraham Lincoln High School in Los Angeles Unified School District. What you just heard was a snippet of one of our student-created podcasts, which are the subject of this presentation, a podcast as a meaningful culminating activity. I did this project with one of our excellent ELA teachers, Marisa Crabtree. I will let Marisa tell you more about this culminating activity, which serves as a summative assessment for this novel unit.
My name is Marisa Crabtree, and I am an English teacher at Lincoln High School in Los Angeles. And I am here to give you some of the background information on the project that I worked on with my librarian, Lily Moayeri, last year. And it was a podcast project that we put together that also incorporated reading a novel and outside research, as well as looking at themes and answering essential questions. And we did this with classes of 11th and 12th graders at the end of last year. So just to give you a little bit of background information on why I actually thought up this project, I knew when I started reading the novels with the students, and in 11th grade we read the novel The Scarlet Letter, and 12th grade we read the novel Fahrenheit 451. I knew that I wanted to do some sort of project that would actually pull together a performance aspect and would have the students having to write like a script, having to pull in some outside research that they would do fairly independently, and that they would also have to like perform it either on video or through audio recording. So I already knew I kind of had those ideas. And so when I came to Lily last year and I said, I'm thinking about doing this, these are the books that we're reading, is there any way that you could help support me in the research aspect, especially? She actually kind of took it and ran with it and even did like more than I had asked her to do at the beginning. So that's kind of where the brainchild or where the thinking for this podcast project came from. It was basically me knowing my students were already going to read these books and then kind of thinking about that end result and product and what I wanted them to be able to do with reading a novel and also incorporating research skills into that process, and then coming up with a creative final product that would show their discussion techniques and their ability to ask questions and answer essential questions, but then also their ability to do some basic research.
You should have all received a copy of this presentation. In the presentation, there's a clickable table of contents. What this means is that you can click on any of the slide titles and the presentation will jump to that slide. To emphasize, this project is not simply about creating a podcast, but a podcast that reflects an entire unit, including reading the novel, all the discussions around the themes, around the essential questions. We started by reviewing these, then going into the requirements for the podcast, then into the research, and finally into the creation of the podcast, ending with some student samples.
Essential questions are how I basically frame all of my units. And so we usually start with essential questions at the beginning of the unit, and then we return to them throughout while we're reading and discussing and writing about a text. And so by the end of it, always my final product of my units is something where the students have to answer the essential question or all of the essential questions using the text that we've then studied. I do it with shorter text, and I also do it with longer text like novels. So for Fahrenheit 451, which is the book that we're going to focus on for this presentation, I came up with a few essential questions that I basically had discussed and had used throughout our reading and discussion of the text. So the students had heard these questions a lot. We had started with them at the beginning, and then when it came to actually planning out the podcast and getting the podcast project together with Lily, I basically just said, like, these essential questions need to be answered by the podcast. So this was what they were for Fahrenheit 451. We did one on freedom of speech, of course. Is censorship in any form justified? We also had an essential question around technology and humanity. Is more technology always a good thing? What are the costs and benefits of technology and technological advancement? And then we also did one around knowledge, which I personally felt was very applicable to today's world. Why are reading and knowledge and gaining of knowledge and understanding important for society? What are the dangers that come with a lack of knowledge and with citizens that are lacking knowledge and basic understanding and logic? The skills that we were looking for in thinking about this final project was, I wanted my students to be able to demonstrate an analysis of the text, that they could find logical and cohesive and relevant passages that would support their answers to the essential questions, and that they could also explain why these passages were effective and what the effect of the passages would have been on the story and on the message and argument that they were making. Also, I was looking for coherence. I wanted them to actually plan out a structure. That's why I actually required them to write a script and make sure that they're that what they plan to do in their podcast and what they actually kind of organized and structured it as actually fit what they wanted to say. And then I also was looking for diction. I wanted them to show that they had academic vocabulary, that they could speak about the novel and speak about their research and speak about the essential questions in an academic, sophisticated way. And then also I wanted them to have a conclusion. And for the conclusion, I wanted them to be able to say, how does this matter in today's world? Basically, connect it to a larger purpose, a larger meaning, more like a universal truth or universal theme, or connect it to some current event or something that you're seeing happening right now. And that was really the conclusion was really about the why is this important? Why should we read Fahrenheit 451? The requirement for the podcast was that it had to be created, scripted, and recorded by the students. And I actually did require them to turn in scripts separately. And in retrospect, what I would do differently this year is I would actually have them turn their scripts in early and then give them feedback on it. It was kind of a little bit rushed, as a lot of times end of the year projects end up being. And so I didn't really have a chance to get their scripts and to give them really good feedback on it. But I wish that I would do that next time. So learn from my mistake. So what I told them when I set up the assignment was that you have to select a focused idea or theme or essential question to basically explore and answer in your podcast from the novel. I also said the second requirement was that they had to research that theme and they had to use a scholarly article or scholarly essay from a database, not from Wikipedia or Google. And they had to use a database to find a reputable source. And they actually had to include at least 3 sources. So I actually because they were seniors and I knew this was my last chance to get them some research experience, I actually wanted them to find 3 sources outside of the novel that they could use to help them answer the question. I actually also had them do an annotated bibliography, which we created a graphic organizer around and we set up for them. And I think Lily's going to talk about that later. But that was another requirement. And we also allowed them to work together. So they could work in partners or they could work by themselves. I let them choose their partners if they wanted to do it, or if they wanted to work on it by themselves, they were welcome to do that. However, the research piece and the answer to the question, they had to come up with individually. So I made it really clear that if they worked with a partner, I still expected each partner to do research. So I didn't want one partner to do all the research and the other person to be riding on the coattails. So I actually said that you would have to find 6 sources if you worked with a partner. Each of you would have to find 3. Okay, so I already said we also required them to create, script, plan, rehearse, and record their podcast, and then they had to share it with me and with their classmates at the end. Here are some of the themes that they could actually kind of pull in and that they could go ahead and do outside research on. And most of these themes are connected to the essential questions, or all of them are connected to the essential questions. So the theme of censorship, authoritarianism versus democracy. They could also look at Ray Bradbury and his life and what was his inspiration for the book. Education versus ignorance. conflicting ideas and cognitive dissonance and like how that works. So this was kind of the psychology topic. Conformity versus individuality. The power of quality stories rather than just having like poor quality, mindless, endless noise. And like what are the traits and the strengths of stories worth telling? Wholeness versus emptiness, sensitivity versus numbness, the effects of technology, and then they could actually generate their own idea. I had nobody do this, but I did leave it open. If somebody had another theme that they really felt they wanted to explore, they could do that. And so there was the like other ideas.
This is an annotated bibliography I created for our students, including an example for them to follow. They can use this template exactly as is for the sources they find. Annotated bibliographies are commonly used in college courses, and this was a good way for our students to practice. For those of you who are not familiar with what an academic database is, it is a credible and reliable collection of curated information that can include articles from academic journals, from newspapers, from magazines, reports. It could have pages from books or chapters from books or an entire book within the database. It can also include images. Databases are aggregated by specialists in research to provide not only credible and reliable information, but they're also what colleges and universities expect all students to be using in any research-related activity. A database can be subject-specific, so it can be a history database or a science database or a literature database, which is what we're using for this particular project, or it can be general, like an encyclopedia, or it can have a lot of different types of topics that then you kind of filter out as you do your searching. You will see in the screencast in the next few slides and how a database research can be filtered by type of format, like it can be a magazine or a book or a journal, or by date, or whether it's just full text. A database is very different from a Google search in that you need some practice to get really good with a database search. And a Google search might seem easy, but the information that comes back from a Google search is generally not that reliable and requires a whole additional set of skills to assess whether this website you found is actually something you can use for your project or for your activity or for your research. So a database is infinitely more reliable. Databases are not free. Our school pays for ours, but you can also access a database through a public library. They all provide that. You can access a database either on-site or remotely using your library card. Also, databases provide citations in a variety of formats, APA, MLA. They all come with any article that you derive from a database. You'll be able to have a citation come with it. Here's how you get to the LAUSD Digital Library. You can do it one of two ways. First is through our own Lincoln website, lincolnhs.org. On the right-hand side, scroll down to LAUSD Digital Library. And because we're not on campus and you're accessing this remotely, scroll down to where it says Accessing the Digital Library Subscription Databases Remotely, and click on click over here on the digital library at lausd.net. Once you're here, you're going to put in your Schoology email and password. Once you put that in, it should give you full access. There you go. Here's all the databases. Another way you can do this is through Schoology. The reason I didn't show you this first is because it does not always work. So here you go. Here's Schoology. I'm an employee. And I'm going to sign in here. Okay. So from Schoology, you'll see these 4 dots. And this app should already be installed for you. It should say LAUSD Digital Library. Click there. Hopefully it takes you to the same page. If it does, go ahead and log in. And there you go. You can do it from there too. If this doesn't work, the one from our school website always works. Once you're in LAUSD Digital Library and you're logged in, I'm going to show you 3 places we're going to look for information on your novel. First one is EBSCO Publishing, which is right here. All the databases are in alphabetical order. Here's EBSCO. Once you're in EBSCO, you're going to be looking at Literary Reference Center Plus. Clicking there. You can type in the name of your novel here. Make sure you are spelling it correctly. You don't have to use capitals, but you do have to spell it correctly and use the correct spacing. Otherwise, it won't be able to find it. Click Search. And here's 122 entries that showed up. But let's filter them a little bit. So over here on the left-hand side, I want to only see things that are full text, because I want to see the whole thing, not just a summary. Don't need it to be a cover story. Don't need it to have images. The publication date, it's saying 1979 to the present time. I think this is fine, mainly because of when the novel was published. It's good for it to have older references. And I'm going to stick with all results. Magazines, reference books, literary criticism, reviews, and plot summaries. That's good. That's already refined our search. Okay, so unlike Google, you don't want to click on the very first things you see. Scroll through and see what topics are coming up and what might be of interest to your particular area that you're focusing where the book is concerned. Some social cultural context on Fahrenheit 451. This is the literary criticism. I know this because I read it over here. Some other excerpts of the novel, film adaptations, so forth. I am actually gonna say I'm gonna pick this one. All right. So here you have it looks very brief, but that's because the PDF full text is right here. Once you click on that, you can see the full information of the article that you were looking at, or this is actually from a book. You can do a few things once you're here. You can save it to your Google Drive right here. You'll click on this, you'll sign into your Google Drive and save it there, which I'm going to show you right now. Okay, so I'm going to sign in with my LAUSD email. And it should be, your document has been saved to your Google Drive account. Great. I'm going to go to Google Drive just to show you that it's there. Here it is. That same article that we were just looking at is right here. So it did save it straight into my Google Drive. Some of the other things you can do, which I highly recommend doing this as you're doing your research, is you want to be able to cite this, so keep track of everything that you're pulling up so you can cite it. Right here, citation. So this means that wherever you get your information, you give credit to where you get your information. These are all the different forms of citations there are. A lot of the default is MLA, sometimes it's APA, but you can just copy and paste. This is the only thing you can copy and paste. You can copy and paste the citations right from here. The second place I'm going to show you where to search is Infobase. Once again, this is alphabetical. Infobase is right here. Inside Infobase, you're going to look at Bloom's Literature. It's right here at the top right. Clicking on Bloom's Literature, you can type in the name of your novel here. Once again, I'm going to pick Fahrenheit 451, and again, you have to spell it very correctly for it to come up. Okay, so here are a few different things that come up, and the headings are right across the top over here. Here's some reference articles, some criticisms, character list, images, and there's no video. Okay, so you can narrow your results to different kinds of things that you might want to be looking at. In this case, I would just leave it as is because you want the most information that you can have right now. So reference articles, and it'll tell you here thematic, structural analysis, topic and theme, overview or synopsis. Not all of them, like overview or synopsis is probably going to be pretty brief. You may not need that. Here are some criticisms of the novels. Some compare and contrast, some in context of the time. list of characters and a little description on each of them. And here are some images. Again, let's say that you pick something from here. I'm going to pick something from criticism. Let's say that the life of the mind and a life of meaning. Again, we don't have to pick the very first one. Pick the one that is more related to the topic you might be interested in, where the book is concerned. So I like this, Burning Bright, Fahrenheit 451, a symbolic dystopia. Although this is an excerpt, but let's say I was going to use this. If you're going to use this, you can do a lot of similar things that we did with EBSCO. You can save it to your drive. Same type of thing. You save it, you can sign in with Google, and you'll save it into your drive over there. You can cite it. Actually, this is the one that saves it to your drive, not this one. It's this one, my mistake. You save to drive, you go into Google, and it will save it for you right there. Citation, once again, if you get your information from wherever you get it from, you have to give credit. Here's MLA. If you need it to be APA, you just click this and you can copy and paste this. Once again, this is the only thing you can copy and paste. I think that's it. So the third place I'm going to show you is Oxford Reference. There's 3 Oxfords in the LAUSD Digital Library, the Art Online, Music Online. We want Oxford Reference. Once you click on this, make sure that this area says Los Angeles Unified School District, LAUSD. A couple of times I've tried this and it won't sign in to the LAUSD one automatically, which it should if you're already signed in the digital library. But if this is happening, you're good. If this is not, it's not going to let you see pretty much anything. So you can go to literature here, or you can just search for your novel up here. Fahrenheit 451, once again, correct spelling and spacing, no need for capitalization. Once you do your search, there's going to be, I've already clicked these, but it's you want unlocked and you want free. There's no point in looking at restricted stuff. It won't show you anything. So unlocked and free, and then click submit. Once you have those clicked, and we have 18 entries, one of the things I learned is to make sure that you click on the actual name of the entry. Don't click on World Encyclopedia because it'll just give you information on the actual book, not on the article that you're looking for. The other thing I would recommend that you look at is the length of how many words it is. 73 words is very, very brief. That's not going to be any use to you. 150 words, too short. 475, that's a little bit better, but it's still very much of a summary. 278 is too short. 222, too short. 285, too short. 325, 524, maybe 567, maybe 1048. That's interesting. But nuclear weapons in war, popular images. Don't know if that's what we're looking for where this book is concerned. Censorship, that's an interesting one. 6,572 words, 6,572. Popular fiction, 7,261. I'm going to click on the censorship one. Once again, click on the title of the article. And this is the thing. Yes, it's a giant article about censorship, but you want to kind of go to just the parts that are related to your novel. If you notice right here in this first paragraph, it says Fahrenheit 451, and it's got it highlighted because that's what we were looking for. And it says highlight search term here. I would scroll through this and mainly be looking for stuff related to your book. You do not have to get into every single thing about the concept of censorship by reading these 6,000 something words. Just focus on the part that is related to your book. Like other databases, Oxford also, you can do you can save, you can cite, you can email this to yourself. If your school district is not offering databases to your students or not paying for a database subscription, you can always use your public library. They always have databases. Our public library, our local public library, is Los Angeles Public Library at lapl.org. This is their current homepage. Under Education and Research, I just put my cursor over it. There are databases. Over here, I'm going to check off database over here on the right. Just databases, and then right here I am going to check off literature only since that's what I need. It's a lot easier to kind of streamline these a little bit by subject area because they have so many databases, over 250, that it's a little hard to manage sometimes unless you start narrowing it down a little bit by topic. Under literature, you can do a search here, but I kind of like to browse and see what they have. And I'm going to take a look at the Literature Resource Center and see what they have there. Of course, you need a library card, an active working library card for this, which is very easy to get. You can get them, you can get an e-card, and all of this is available to you. So as far as Galen context goes, I'm looking for something very specific. So here's all their literature stuff. Lit Finder, and I was looking for this, the Scribner Writer Series, where they have profiles of writers, because I wanted to do a search on Ray Bradbury, who's the author of Fahrenheit 451. And here's some interesting stuff that comes up. This is a 9-page article, or 9 pages in a book. It's a critical essay of Ray Bradbury, and it's from 1999, which is fine. Ray Bradbury's around for so long that that's not actually dated for him. Here's an 18 pages in a book on Ray Bradbury. There's another 8 pages. This is more recent, from 2003. But I think I'm going to go for this. And if you notice here, this article has quite a bit of good information about Ray Bradbury as an author and where he stands in the science fiction sphere. And if I was going to use this article, the citation should be right here up top. Here it is. Citation is right here. So I would click on that, and depending if I wanted MLA, APA, Chicago, and I can just copy this and paste it into my works cited. To get to Newsela, you can do that straight from your Schoology. So once you're in Schoology, you're going to go to your course with Miss Crabtree. I'm just going to show you a random example from my course. Once you're in the course, you scroll down here, over here on the left-hand side, and you'll see it says Newsela. So you can just click on that, and it will open a new window for Newsela. Mine's the educator one, but it really doesn't make any difference. Once you're here, you're going to go to subjects. It's right here across the top. Subjects is a drop-down menu, and you're going to go to ELA for English Language Arts. Once you're here, you're going to go to novel studies. Over here on the left, it's got all the novels. You can click on that. Your high school, so you're going to click on high school. And you can either search, actually, but Fahrenheit 451 is right here, and so is Macbeth a little bit further down. So you click on Fahrenheit 451, and it'll pull up a text set, meaning a bunch of different articles related to Fahrenheit 451. Everything from this article on young journalists fighting censorship, to censorship, another censorship one, banned booklets around the world, First Amendment, death of reading is threatening the soul, something about the author, why Fahrenheit 451 is still, and you can pick any one of these. I'm just going to click on this one so you can see what it looks like. And there you have it. This is the whole thing, and it gives you a word count here and all kinds of stuff. That's it. We also wanted our students to have the option to use a general search for one of their sources, but only for more reliable news sources. We have free access to the Los Angeles Times, both the digital edition and the site, through Newspapers in Education, and students have access to the New York Times through the public library as well as through the New York Times' free learning network. For searches in news outlets, I directed the students to use search terms that were related to their topic rather than related to the title of their book, as typing Fahrenheit 451 would most likely only bring up weather reports. If you're using a source from the LAUSD Digital Library, the citation is already there, as you know, and all you have to do is copy and paste. If you are using newspaper or CNN or something from New Zealand, you do have to cite it correctly. We have the tools for that right here on our Lincoln homepage at lincolnhs.org. You can go from there right underneath the slideshow to our library. And over here on the right-hand side, there's a bunch of subheadings. You want plagiarism and citations. Click on that. Over here under how to cite your sources, we've got Citation Machine and EasyVib. Go ahead and click on EasyVib. That's the one we tend to use. And we're going to create a citation. So click on Create Citation. Chances are you're going to be using a website, so you can click on website, but you have the option if you're using a book, a journal, a photograph, all that's over here. You can choose if you're citing a video, any type of source, you can use EasyVib to quote it. EasyVib's free, but it has all these like crazy ads. Okay, so clicking website, and I'm going to pick this. I found this on Google News. It's a banned book story from the Anchorage Press. So you're going to copy this address right here and paste it into this field and click search. What EasyBib does is try and find your article and pull the relevant information it needs for the citation from it. Once it has that, go ahead and click Cite. It will pull a lot of information just from that URL that you gave it, but it may not have everything. So we're going to have to click Continue, and in this field, you're going to have to fill in anything that is empty. Also, double check anything that they've already filled out. So the article title, Banned Books, a Pandemic, what year is it? Yes, correct. All right, author's name, Kate Buxbaum. Let's check that. Kate Buxbaum, correct. Online publication, Anchorage Press. Yes, publisher sponsor. I mean, that's still the Anchorage Press, I think, but I don't know that you necessarily need that. The URL is what you just put in. This was electronically published 28th of April, 2020. Double checking that's correct. Yes. And we accessed it today. So that's a pretty complete citation. Hit complete. It's creating it for you now in MLA 8. Actually, you can pick which style you want, but we picked MLA 8. Here it is. You can copy and paste that right into your annotated bibliography. And that's it. You're not checking your paper. Here's your citation for that article. Another way to do citations is to use Google Docs' new citation tool, which has just come out. You can find that underneath Tools in any Google Doc. And over here you'll see citations. So that's Tools, then Citations. It opens up a little side panel here. You can pick from MLA or APA or Chicago. These are kind of your basic ones that everybody tends to use. We'll stick with MLA. I like this one better than EasyVib or Citation Machine or any of the other generators because I feel like it's better for learning, and also it just doesn't have those jumpy ads and all the other things that come with so-called free services. So source type, I'm going to use this article I found in the LA Times that's related to censorship and books. So the source type is website. I'm going to go click this and go down to website, access by website. So contributors, it's looking for the authors. I'm going to go back to the article and look for the author's first name and last name, which is Ed Nawatka. And that's Ed Nawatka. And if there's more than one author, then you would hit this plus and add those in. So the title of the article is Will China's Entry into U.S. Publishing Lead to Censorship? Copy that right over. And the website title is the Los Angeles Times. Publisher is Los Angeles Times, but it's not. If it's not starred, I'll tend to not put that in. Okay, so the URL, I'm going to copy that from up here. And publish day, get the date from the article. Again, I feel like this is a much better learning tool for students. May 27, 2020. May 27, May 2020. And access day would be whatever day it is, 20 October, 24th October, 2020. and add citation source. I don't think we need to add the short title. And it's already created it for you. You can insert it in text, which is an amazing additional tool that Google has. And you have it here as part of your works cited, already created for you. Completely amazing. Highly recommend the Google citation tool.
I actually said the podcast had to be 5 to 10 minutes. I really emphasize that it should be probably closer to 10 minutes, especially if they had a partner. Because, I mean, just two people sitting and having a conversation with each other about themes from a book would probably take 10 minutes at least. So, so I really emphasized that I wanted it to be a longer podcast, like more like 10 minutes. They also had to integrate intro and exit music. We used actually Anchor.fm, which is an app and a website that you can use to record podcasts. It's really user-friendly and easy to use, and I know Lily is going to talk about it in more depth, I believe. But the cool thing about it is that you can very easily integrate background music, intro music, and exit music. So we actually made that a requirement, because as a listener of podcasts, every podcast I know has like intro music and exit music. And, I just felt like it was an important element to make it really feel and sound like a podcast. They also had to have these elements. They had to have some sort of introduction where they introduced what they were talking about, what question they were answering, what theme they were addressing. They had to have some background information and talk about why did they choose this theme, maybe give an anecdote from their own lives or their own personal experience, or explain how it connected to them. I wanted them to do an interview. This was if they had a partner. I wanted them to kind of interview each other. So that was another requirement I made. If they partnered with someone else, I expected there to be like an interview part where they kind of asked each other questions and responded. And then they had to, of course, have a conclusion. How does this theme, how does the novel, how does the research that you did connect to world events or to current events, and why should we be thinking about it? They had to show organization by introducing each section and making it really clear that they had planned it out. They also needed to come up with a meaningful title for it, not just Fahrenheit 451 podcast, but I actually wanted them to try to come up with something that encapsulated the main idea of what they were talking about or the theme. And then they also had to come up with artwork for the cover on Anchor.fm. Again, you can also very easily find clip art or find a photo or an image that you can actually use as your artwork. So those were the basic requirements for the podcast itself.
I'm going to walk you through how to set up an account and get a podcast going on Anchor.fm. That's ANCHOR.fm. I'm sure you've seen their ads everywhere. They're being very guerrilla marketing with their advertising. So you're going to sign up. I recommend using your LAUSD address. I already used it, so I'm going to use my Lincoln address. Name, and then make the password up really quick. Confirm that you're not a robot and sign up. So the first thing you have to do is just confirm your account. You have to verify your email address, which I've already have my email ready to go here. So my email address with Anchor, just clicking this link, and I'm good to go. You can start over in this new screen that will open up when you have your email verified. So here, let's make your first episode. Let's do it. You can do this with 2 people or 1 person. Let me just take you through 1 person first, just so you get a feel for it. And then I'll show you where to find the information for doing it. With 2 people, you can do it with an app on your phone. You can do it on your desktop. You can do it at the same time. You can do it in an interview style, but we're going to get into all that. So let's record. You have to allow them to use your computer microphone. That's fine. And start recording now. Okay, I'm going to just record my voice saying I am going through teaching my students how to set up an account on Anchor and start a podcast, and also how to add some music to the beginning and the end of their podcast. I'm going to click stop recording. That's my voice recording right here that's rendering. While that's happening, I'm going to upload some music. some MP3s from my collection. I'm going to upload this one and this one. So these are going to upload while this is happening over here. And this is the audio that I've created. This is the audio that I'm uploading. So you can do it both ways. While this is happening, let me bring your attention to this. You are not doing this podcast to make money, not that you would make any money or activate sponsorships. This is strictly for your assignment. If you want to become a podcaster after this assignment, you can do so, not associated with this. Right now, you're not activating sponsorships. Next time you make a podcast and you want to make money, go ahead and click this. This time, you are not clicking this. So close that off, and it's not going to let you do it straight away, so you have to say not right now, thanks, so it goes away. Okay. So these are my files. These are my music files over here. Here's my audio file. Anything that has a plus next to it, you can add it to the episode. These are already here. This is where the stuff is in the episode. These are already here, the ones that I uploaded. This one I added to it. And then you can move these around really easy by just dragging and dropping them. So here's my opening music, here's my closing music, here's my audio. This is all ready to go. That's it. It's that simple. You're going to save the episode. Episode title, Ms. Crabtree's. Actually, let's call it, you should probably put your name in here so that Ms. Crabtree knows who it is. And what novel this was that you're doing the podcast for. And then you have to do a description. Ms. Crabtree's Fahrenheit 451 podcast assignment. Okay, that's all you need. You don't need to fill out this other stuff. You can put up like a visual if you want. If you want to put up an image for your podcast, that's fine. This is a full episode. The content is clean. Please do keep it clean. Keep in mind that this has to be listened to by your teachers and everybody else. If you have any profanity or inappropriateness in it, it will get taken down by Anchor. So keep that in mind. Okay, publish now. At this point, Anchor is going to try and get you to fill this information out. You do not need to fill this out because you're not distributing your podcast to anybody except for Ms. Crabtree. So just hit this X up here. I know it's super faded, so you can't see it, and it's making you feel like you have to fill out this information. You do not. Close it. Close that. You're here. You're good. This is all the information you needed to have on here. And you're done. This is published only to Anchor FM, which is the only place we wanted it. Here's the link that you can send Miss Crabtree. It's already copied. And that's all you need to do. If you want more information, Anchor has a great frequently asked questions FAQ section. So if you go all the way down to screen to help, it'll open a new window. You can type your question here or just scroll through. I found out a lot of information just looking through this stuff. Here's information on getting started, FAQs, all that stuff. The stuff that might be helpful for you. Recording with friends, that's if you guys are doing it remotely, which of course you are, and you want to use maybe the app on your phone, or just use your phone to record, or talk to each other and record at the same time. You can do all of that stuff. So recording with friends, all of these things, that's on this row here, that's really good. And if you have the complete list, most of the other stuff you don't need. You're not doing distribution, analytics. You're not doing your podcast on Spotify or Apple. You're not doing automatic distribution. If you have recording questions, they're up here. So that's pretty good. And that's it. The things you do not have to worry about is distributing your podcast at all, because you're only distributing it to Miss Crabtree. Enjoy podcasting. This is the end of our presentation. These podcasts were done with an ELA class, of course, but they lend themselves to any subject area and can be easily adapted to any discipline. We will leave you with some contact information and another snippet from another one of our student-created podcasts. You can listen to the entirety of any of our students' podcasts through the links on this slide. And thank you so much for your interest and attention. And please get in touch if you have any questions.
guys, it's Sally.
And it's Monica.
And welcome to a world where our knowledge is restricted.
So today we'll be talking about censorship throughout history and in the book Fahrenheit 451.
We chose censorship as our theme because we felt like it was one of the main themes displayed in the book. And it's something that still exists in our present world today.
So we also saw how something like censorship could have such an effect on a person and how it really impacted us as readers to be able to have rights that people didn't have then that was sort of expanded today.